Hello and welcome to the Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friend. If you've been looking for a podcast geared towards your growth, self-awareness, navigating your brain's daily mind drama, and deep inner work to become your highest and best self, you are in the perfect place. Let's get started. Hello, happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm Macy, and I am so excited to have you here, whether you're new or you are returning. All right, today, that sounded kind of weird. I bit my tongue and had a little bit of a lisp right there. But today, we're going to be talking about resisting emotions. But before we do that, I wanted to quickly remind you that if you want to hop on the offer of getting 6 25-minute coaching calls one-on-one for just $300, you still have time to submit a Google form. A few people have already been selected. I am waiting on their payment. Once their payment comes through, I can probably take about 2 more. If their payment does not come through, I will be taking about 3 to 4 more. So you're not too late. If you've been sitting on that, it's a great opportunity to be coached very specifically with the model that I am learning in my certification course. And so if you're interested, make sure you reach out to me or you go on my social media, on Instagram. It's the link in my bio. My link tree will take you to the Google form. On Facebook, you might have to ask me for it in Messenger, or you'll have to search some of the older Facebook lives. But if you need it, just reach out. I will give it to you. I can probably even put it in the show notes. All right, let's dive right in. So we're talking about resisting emotions today. And the reason that I want to share this is because I have shared on my Facebook Lives briefly, like I am in a season right now, just a challenging season. My life is neither great and fantastic nor horribly awful, right? But I'm just in a season where emotions are very high for me right now. I'm riding them like a roller coaster. And I was thinking the other day how this would be a much more painful situation if I were resisting the emotions that come up. And I'm going to tell you how you're going to know when you're resisting versus when you're leaning in to your emotions, okay? So yesterday particularly was a really rough day for me. I was feeling very high emotion, very high anxiety, feeling like I could fall apart at any given moment. And what I noticed in my attitude and my responses when I was asked questions was that I was very snappy, that my patience was very thin, and that whenever I was asked more questions, I became more flustered and more frustrated, and just I was not in a great mood. And when I finally allowed myself just to be with my emotions, I immediately felt this deep desire to cry. Now, I had the thought, it feels silly to cry, which would be resisting the emotions, right? And then it kind of made me think, why would I not cry in this moment? I feel the need to, but my thoughts are overpowering me, like it feels really stupid to do so because I can't change my circumstances. So in the moment yesterday when I was in high emotion, I was resisting it, which was making it feel worse. And not only was it making me feel worse, but it was making me more agitated with everyone around me because I wasn't processing my emotion. Now, you guys, I'm a human being, and we talk about this all the time. When emotions are high, intelligence is low. And this isn't referring to emotional intelligence. This is why a lot of times when someone has had a bad day at work and they come home and they haven't processed their emotions and maybe you're like, hey, honey, how was work today? Or the kids are immediately jumping on your back and they're like, mommy, daddy, whatever it is, whoever you are, and you snap without thinking, or you say something without thinking, or you react without thinking and then you later feel guilt, it's because your emotions were high in that moment, which meant your intelligence, you hadn't caught up with your intelligence, right, of how to respond. So when you did respond, it was in a way that maybe you weren't proud of. And what what it comes down to is our ability to process emotion. If we're not processing our emotion, our reaction is going to be much more intense than if we are. And the reason that is because a lot of times when we're in negative emotion, we try to resist it. Okay, the reason that anxiety feels so bad in the body is because we feel like we have no control over it, right? And I have lived with anxiety all of my life. I understand how debilitating it is. Like, just even thinking about it makes me have to take a deep breath and bring myself down. It's one of the things I resist in my life the most. I hate when I am feeling anxious, especially when I can't pinpoint the reason why, and it swarms over my life, in what feels like out of nowhere, quote unquote. But when I'm resisting it rather than fully leaning into it, I notice that my anxiety is 10,000 times worse. And one of my best, greatest friends, and she's been a coach to me, she's been a mentor to me, she's been a friend to me, she said to me years ago, anxiety is just energy in the body that needs to move. Shout out to you, Sherry Strzelecki. I love you for that. It really hit me back then. It stays with me today. It truly feels just like that. Whenever I am resisting what I'm feeling, when I'm resisting my emotions, whether that is anger, sadness, fear, whatever it is, you guys, it gets that much bigger. It continues to grow. It becomes a bigger problem, which means you're creating more self-suffering in your life that is unnecessary because you're not willing to fully lean in and express what you need to express. So I've had a lot of thoughts going on in my life about what's going on in the world lately. We've had a lot of things going on behind the scenes, really great things, but it's slow. It's not moving as fast as I want it to move. Like, there's just been a lot, and you combine all of that together over weeks, a period of weeks. And what I've observed about myself is that over the period of weeks, it's been this ebb and flow of sometimes I'm leaning in and I'm just allowing myself to feel all the things. And at other times I'm resisting it and I'm wishing that it would be different. And when you're spending your time wishing that something would be different, you're arguing with your current reality. And yes, that's going to be painful. It's always painful to argue with your current reality. When you want something to be different, but it's not different, okay, it's going to be painful. You're resisting what is. How can you lean in to what is, fully embrace it, and allow your body to feel whatever it needs to feel? That is okay. In fact, it's necessary. When we feel negative emotion, it is oftentimes pointing us into the direction or allowing us to choose to pivot into a direction that we want to be in. So when we're feeling miserable, it's telling us something is out of alignment in our life. And what it's giving us the opportunity to do is take responsibility for our feeling, really feel it, okay, and decide what we're going to do to make it different. But a lot of times instead what we do is we indulge in the negative emotion, or we completely resist the negative emotion and pretend it's not there. And when we're pretending that something's not there and we're resisting it, it continues to grow behind the scenes. So by the time that you address it, it's not just one little thing to unpack. It's multiple things to unpack. And it feels extremely painful. And then we argue with reality and say, I wish this wasn't happening. I wish this wasn't my life. Why is this happening to me? I don't understand. I don't get to see, I don't understand why Susie has it so easy and I have it so hard, or whatever it is, okay? And you create more suffering for yourself. So today's quick podcast message is to lean into your feelings. Ask yourself, where are you resisting your feelings? Okay, when you think about your relationship with your partner, maybe it's not exactly where you want it to be right now. Are you arguing with reality? It is what it is right now. And when you start to think about it and you feel upset or disgusted or frustrated or sad, do you allow yourselves to feel that? Or do you say, it shouldn't be this way. If they would behave differently, if they would just do this, I would be happy. I don't get to be happy until they change who they are. And this is just awful. All of that mind chatter is creating more suffering for you. You're arguing with what is. You're arguing with your current reality. What would it be like to lean in and just feel sad, just feel angry, just feel disgust, just feel frustration? What would that feel like? Same thing if you've re-enrolled into school, right? Let's say you've re-enrolled into school, you're going to in-person classes, something happens down the road and we're back to virtual, okay? You can argue with reality and how it shouldn't be that way and it's much harder and you hate it and you don't like it and you don't learn as well, or you can just allow yourself to feel the frustration or, whatever the emotion is. So when you actually lean into your feelings versus resist the emotion, you're going to be able to process it faster. The suffering lasts a lot, suffering doesn't last longer if you process your emotions. Suffering lasts a lot less if you process your emotions. When you're not arguing with reality, when you're just allowing yourself to be, to feel what you need to feel. When you're doing that, all of that suffering that you're currently engaging and playing with will not be there as long because it takes sitting in the negative in order to process it. It takes understanding what thoughts you're having that are creating what you're feeling in the first place. Remember, your thoughts create your feelings. Thoughts, feelings. Thoughts create feelings, okay? So I wanted to give you that message. This is probably the shortest episode I have ever done, but I think it's very important. Okay. And if it resonates with you or you know someone who is indulging in their own negative emotions and they're really having a hard time feeling it and they continue to talk about the same things over and over again, that's another thing. You will continue to stay in a cycle. Okay. It creates more victim mentality as well because you're staying in a cycle of, I don't know how to stop feeling this way. I don't know how to stop feeling this way. I don't know how to stop feeling this way. But you could stop feeling that way the moment you stop resisting the emotion. Okay, as soon as you address what's underneath the curtain, you can move through it a lot faster. Now, sometimes that's hard for us to do, and sometimes we want to keep feeling crappy because that means we don't have to change anything, and it's a part of our comfort zone. So you really just have to check in with yourself. And this is what is awesome about this certification that I'm in is really catching all of my clients, right? My future clients that especially do one-on-one coaching is going to be catching all the ways they're resisting themselves, that they're arguing with reality, that they're not in a space where they know how to make themselves feel better on their own because their brain is fighting for comfort. And it thinks that in order to be most comfortable, it's to resist the emotion so that they don't have to feel it, when really it's just growing bigger behind the scenes because they're not addressing it. Okay? It's kind of like pouring liquid dish soap into the dishwasher, and the dishwasher is running and it's creating a bunch of bubbly suds, okay? And instead of the suds going away, they just keep like falling, like there's foaming out of the dishwasher. And every time you try to sweep it up and make it go away, it doesn't matter, like it's still creating a mess because all the time that you spent resisting it, you were pouring continuous dish soap into the dishwasher, okay, and hitting the start button. If you would have stopped pouring all the dish liquid into the dishwasher, we wouldn't have as big of a mess. But now we're having a lot of overflow. We're having a lot of suds. We keep having to clean up because you kept pouring more and more dish soap in the dishwasher every time you ignored the emotions you were feeling, thinking that it was going to go away because you didn't see it immediately, right? When you first put liquid dish soap in a dishwasher, you're not going to see anything until you press start. And it's not going to happen immediately. You're not going to know the damage until you realize like, oh shoot, like this is not going away. I've been cleaning this for days. Why is this not going away? Okay. Like you have to keep running as many cycles as it takes to get rid of all the soap that compiled. And it's the same thing with your thoughts and your feelings. The more that you're compiling, the more work you have to do in the end. So the faster you're willing to feel your emotions rather than resist them, and the faster you're willing to work through your thoughts rather than ignore them, the faster you can get to any kind of result that you're wanting. And maybe that's peace, true joy, true happiness, not feeling crappy longer than you need to be, because you're going to feel crappy. Like emotions are 50-50. You're going to feel great, half of the time, and you're going to feel crappy half of the time. And we have to learn loving to embrace both of those, because the night and day difference, right? The hot and cold, the happy, the sad, the anger, the peace, those opposites are what let us know exactly where we stand when we are feeling one of those emotions. Without one, we wouldn't understand the other. Okay, so the negative emotions are just a great opportunity for us to be able to see where we're at, what we're thinking about, what results we're creating. And if you want to create something different, you really have to be able to embrace those emotions that are so easy to run from. All right. Okay, that is all. Again, if you want to do 6 coaching sessions, 25 minutes, only $300. This is limited time. We're getting really short on the time period that you can even apply. I'm going to have to cut that off soon. Reach out to me as soon as you listen to this podcast if you're interested, or go and fill out the Google form. Again, it's on my Linktree on Instagram. You can reach out to me on Facebook if you need it. If you're selected, submit your payment as soon as possible. You will then get access to my calendar to be able to schedule, and you and I will be coaching together for 6 weeks. And I think it's going to be very transformative transformative for you. I think you will absolutely enjoy what you get out of it, what you see from your own mind. I'm excited to do it with you. And if you have any questions, you can just let me know. Have a great week, you guys. See you next Monday.